Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I have a really simple birthday card to share with you using the Abracadabra stamp set from my favorite things. This one was just released in the last release and I just fell in love immediately with all of the adorable critters in this stamp set. It's so adorable. And then you have these great sentiments to go with them, so I couldn't wait to get my hands on this stamp set. And so to feature this week a bit more the new release, I decided to try to use my color pencils for coloring. You probably know that last year I bought like the whole box of the Polychromos Faber-Castell pencils, and I tried them out a few times, and although they color great, well, it just takes a lot of time to color with pencils. I also think that it's all about getting used to the medium. But when you need a card quickly, then you're not going to, well, if you need a quick card, you probably take that medium that you're familiar with, that you like coloring with, that you know how to color with. So I left those pencils aside, but I also want to get to know them better and use them more because, well, the, the complete box was quite expensive. So just having it sitting in a drawer is not really, well, the best plan. So, as for the Copics, I'm also listing all of the colors that I used for each of the combinations on my blog post. So as I said, these are the Faber-Castell Polychromos Pencils. And I actually decided to color the same way as with my markers, going from darkest to lightest. Also to help me with this no-line coloring, because in my opinion, having the shadows first there reminds me where the specific lines were intended to be by the illustrator. So that's why I'm going this way. It's probably not the way to color with pencils, but it works for me, or I think it works for me. I decided to go with a pink color as like the contrasting color. So for the bow as well as the band on the head, I'm using this color combination. And then for the shadowing, I'm trying to keep the shadows on the right side as much as possible, just to work with some sort of a light source. It's a tiny image, so that's why I decided to try on my pencils again. But I actually liked the experience here, maybe just because it was one image and not a complete scene. And it just stayed clean and simple, and I could focus on the shadowing of this one image. I don't know, but I will definitely try to do some coloring with pencils more. Not that it will be my main way of coloring, but something that is handy about pencils when you compare it with markers is that like you have this extreme fine tip if you sharpen it, and so you can really go in those details without things getting blurred. So that's what I actually really liked about coloring this image. I have some details that you can still see, and with the markers they would have just disappeared, or it would have been really difficult to color it with enough dimension and stuff. So yeah. So here the head, that was kind of the biggest struggle for me to get it done, because I just wanted to give it enough details to really represent the head of a magician. So that took me a bit, and the first layer wasn't good at all. Something that I also try to do is when adding the first layer to not add it too thick or to press too hard, because I noticed that as soon as the paper has the layers or has had the pressure of pencils, that it will not take on the color anymore, or it is maybe just with this specific paper that I'm using. This one is the Neenah Desert Storm, which I actually really like to color with pencils on, because it already has a bit of coloring and it's a soft vibe that you get. I don't know, but I like it. So here also adding more pencils to the face and a bit harder. So blending now on top of it is really hard. So I'm not doing that anymore. I completely saturated paper this way. I don't know. I don't know how it's called with pencils. But so I had my image and I made sure to add the details of the face with a multiliner. A really thin one, a 0.05. And then I decided to try to add a shadow. So I went with a really soft gray that I also used on the head just to help me sort of get the lay of the land. And then I took darker pencils to really, well, emphasize the shadowing. And then I will try to fade it out with the gray. I don't know if this is the way, but for this card I think it sort of worked out. But it's out of my comfort, I must admit. Well, pencils in general are out of the comfort zone. So as I had my shadowing on the right side and the left side is so the light source, I thought that just doing the shadowing like this was the most realistic. Not that I'm trying to be realistic, we are talking about the magical card with the bunny coming outside of a, well, you know. So here I'm just trying to fade it gray out into the rest of the panel. And then once I was happy with it, I decided to continue with the sentiment and add some more details to this panel. So I probably didn't say it in the beginning, but this panel is slightly smaller than an A2 size. It's die cut with the basic rectangles from Mama Elephant, but the second largest rectangle out of this set. So I will have a border later on. So yeah, here I'm going to white heat emboss the sentiment and the details. Going to stamp it multiple times using Versamark clear embossing ink. And the embossing powder that I'm using today is the Ranger White Superfine Detail. And I'm just covering this panel completely, tapping off the excess. I'm going to use a pencil, well, not a pencil, well, a brush to get rid of all of the excess embossing powder and then heat set it like that. And then for some of the areas of the sentiment, I had a few parts where embossing powder was loose, so I just got rid of it using my craft knife. I'm adding this panel on top of some foam that will help me for that tiny bit of dimension that I want. And then I had to figure out a pink that would work with the pink that I had in the image. Now, I have this Honeysuckle cardstock from Concord the 9th, but it's not exactly the pink that I needed. So I decided to try and add some Seedless Preserves Distress Inks on top of this panel. Now I only need the edges, so I am sort of ink blending just the edges. And then I will add this panel on top of a card base, trim off the excess, and then I can add my colored panel on top of this. So I didn't clean off my work surface and there was some Seedless Preserves on it, so I just took the back of the Misty to help me. Because otherwise there might be a transfer of the Seedless Preserves on top of the back of my card base and that I didn't want. So adding here everything together. And that is my card for today. A really clean and simple card using pencils, a bit outside of the comfort, but I'm really glad with the result and I will try it more. So I hope that you enjoyed this as well and that you like the end result. If you have any questions, you can leave them down below in the comments. I truly appreciate you all being here and I hope to see you back next time. Bye!